Hello, sweet friends. Welcome to Sunday Friends Fourth Watch. Super excited. We have a lot of great questions. I mean, it's really funny that we can already see like our little chatty boxes. We got some great questions. So we are going to take a break from the campaign for this week, and we're gonna just, ask our players some questions, see if we can get a little bit of insight into what they are thinking, where they're feeling. There's been a lot of stuff going on. And, so we got some questions here. We're going to dig around in their brains. Some of them are going to be really intense, and some of them are going to be, more just for like shits and giggles. It's fine. So before we get started, though, special shout out to our sponsors, Campaign Coins. They make really high quality products, and they are just really fantastic people. So check out their stuff. Found Familiar Coffee. I wish I had like the fancy ad, but for those of you, that is the preferred San Maria. What is that called?
Preferred brew of San Maria.
The preferred brew of San Maria, and that's canon.
That's canon.
It's canon, and of course the loveless Eris Savad, who provides us with
beautiful hats.
Our beautiful hats. Where's my hat? Y'all, where's my hat? I just had it. Oh, it's probably tucked away in there. Never mind. So we all have beautiful hats.
Just me. And Ren. Yay. Oh, there we go.
We all have beautiful hats, or some might call them dice trays. We call them hats.
Well, you can use them for that.
Flip it upside down.
I guess.
What? Dual purpose.
I knew I got the deluxe one for a reason.
This trend brings me so much joy. This trend.
So be sure to check out her products. They are amazing, fantastic, and beautifully crafted. And I do believe there is a promo coupon, and you just put
for a bay.
O for a bay.
15% off.
Hit her up. All right, so we're gonna go and get started. We're gonna keep this nice and light. You can throw questions. You can throw questions in the chat. You can throw questions in our Discord. Nudge, nudge. Go check out our Discord. I will try to catch all of them. Between the 5 of us, I'm sure we'll catch most of them. So let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna start with something nice and light. If you had to describe your character as an alcoholic beverage, what would they be and why?
Does anybody already know the answer to that question?
Yeah, does anybody? I feel like that's either a question you really have to think about, or like you just automatically know.
I feel like I have an answer.
Go for it.
First thing that comes to mind is this thing called a gimlet or a gimlet. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. It's gin and Saint Germain, which is like a... God, I forgot it. It was like elderflower or something like that. Anyway, it's like very sweet and floral, but also the base is gin, which in my opinion is a sad man's drink. So it's this thing which is basically made out of alcoholic sadness. And so I think
that
it's appropriate.
seems sure.
I've tried
like
that, and it's a very floral sad man's drink. So I have to agree with you.
I have to try one of those.
And I will have to recommend that you try one because they are delicious.
Love me some gin.
I think I know the
Felix?
answer. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Salix would probably be some sort of weird twist on a tequila sunrise. With like some sort of exotic berry and herbs.
Cool.
Makes sense for Salix.
Yeah, I think it's a good one.
Yeah.
I think I have one for Kendall. I think Kendall would be a Long Island iced tea, because everybody kind of thinks what they know is inside, but once you get the recipe, there's a lot of things in there you didn't expect.
That was deep.
It was very deep.
Wow. Okay. I was trying to start off nice and late.
Ren.
All right. What about Dev? Our sweet, sweet Devereaux. Are you muted? No.
I don't think so.
No.
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 They were just being quiet.
I was just anticipating, got excited.
You know, I'm trying to think if there's any drink out there with tea in it, but realistically, who gives a crap? It would probably be something light and bubbly and a little bit refreshing. So, what makes light and bubbly? Anything that has ginger beer in it. So,
I was
boom.
literally gonna say something light and bubbly for Deborah. So
So like a Moscow Mule, maybe.
I feel
A mule.
Sure, sure. Or you know, a mimosa because you
A
get up in the
that's
morning
what
and
Mary
you're
said,
like,
yeah.
I think mimosa would be. Yeah, I think that's it.
I was actually
it?
my first
Like
my
that's-
first response for Salix was a mimosa, but then I was like, she would go for something a little bit more
exotic.
weird.
You say weird, I say exotic. You know.
Well, like just like she. Similar idea, very different ingredients. Like she would pick like berries that she grew that are available to us in this world. Like that would be like a close approximation.
Oh, makes sense. Okay.
But
yeah. Solid drink choices. Solid drink choices. All right.
Hard.
So, I'm gonna hit a couple of individual questions, and we can tag on. We can add input. But, Ren, does Dev think that Tess lied to them about their dad at all?
no.
No. Wow, that was an immediate just no.
No.
Why do you trust Tess? As someone who plays Tess, why did you trust her? Was it because it matched what you already kind of had assumed or knew?
It's probably just based on the fact that she seemed very straightforward and honest. And I mean, what would she really have to gain by lying to them about their dad? So when approaching that discussion, I think another part of it might be the fact that Dev wants to think good about their dad, so it might even be a matter of, even if it's not entirely true or if there's some embellishment, sometimes it's better to just believe in the fib and go along with it rather than to think something a little lesser of them. So
Sure. So we've met Clark.
Oh shit.
So in all honesty, we saw a lot of
Shit.
oh, real quick before we leave Tess. So
Oh.
I have a question for you.
okay.
Because you said, you specifically asked, why did you trust Tess? Do you think that the group shouldn't have trusted Tess?
you can't answer like that.
I will say I feel like I don't think it's just no, yeah, she was telling the truth. You just like you said, she didn't really have a reason to lie. And I think so answering, I'm going to tack on another question that was directed to me about Tess in relation to the group. Tess sees a lot of herself in this group. That's why the conversations that she had with you all were very much like, hey, I see you're in a tense like situation, like I can feel a little bit of the like, but I've been there, I've done that, and it's going to be okay. So in relation to Dev, she herself had a lot of regrets. I'm not going to get into her backstory, but she had a lot of regrets after she left to go adventuring because she had that same, I need to get out and explore the world. So I think it was easier for her to empathize with someone who'd been left behind because eventually she did make her way back. So I think that honesty and giving Dev, yeah, was it a little flourished maybe, but she's also a bard and that's kind of what she does. So she didn't have a reason to lie. She was honest. So now that we've all met Clark, and there were a lot of comparisons about some personalities that seem to be inspiring this particular character. How did your character internally feel about Clark. We all saw the outward response, but we all know that that can be tempered mostly out of respect for Dev. But what were the internal things that all of you were feeling when Clark arrived on the scene and was as he was? Which was, oh, way.
I mean, Ren, did you want to go first on that?
All right, I'll say it. He was a jackass. Salix didn't like his attitude, but she understood where he was coming from when he explained himself. So she had respect for him, and she also understood the entire time that there's always more to the story than people let on. I mean, that's how it is with just about everything. So, you know, she was iffy and she wanted to kind of withhold judgment, but she did think he acted like an ass.
I think
he did.
I think Kendall also felt just about the same way, and he understood that the family is one of the most complicated things out there, especially with his complicated relationship with his parents. And although he grew up with his parents, he kind of didn't feel like almost he had parents, almost. So I think it wasn't his place to be upset, or he was more concerned about Dev and what Dev felt, and he knew Dev had questions that needed answers. So it was more of Kendall was more concerned of Dev getting the resolution that Dev was looking for, as much as he wanted to punch Clark.
Yeah, Dev was definitely the bigger concern.
Y'all are so wholesome. Alex.
I think that contingent on Dev being okay with it, Kiri would not mind seeing Clark again, but they don't like him. But I think that they're a little more okay with Clark after that final conversation with Dev, and very specifically after finding out that Clark is not a halfling, and after finding out that he is this celestial being in service to a god of some variety. Because Kiri is very concerned with or they're aware rather of how these sort of extraplanar, bizarre, non-human entities are in many ways fundamentally different from people, regular humanoid people on material plane, even if they look very similar. They're on a fundamental level not the same. So I think Kiri understands that maybe more than they would if they had come from somewhere else.
Sure.
And I think it's that understanding that once that clicked, they're able to extend Clark probably more grace in that particular aspect. So yeah, they wouldn't mind seeing Clark again, specifically if Dev was okay with it.
How about Dev? I think we got a little bit. Was there anything else internally that maybe we didn't get to see in the interactions or some of the response that we saw in the session? Was there anything extra?
The situation itself was obviously complicated, and as a player, it's incredibly difficult to navigate certain types of aspects of relationship dynamics, especially something that's so inherently difficult to face. And I think the big thing that Dev really faced when confronted with their own father is that kind of disappointment that they feel, having basically come face to face with someone who they respect and kind of idolize to an extent, because a lot of Dev's own life and their goals and desires are, if not modeled after their father's exploits, they're very close in step with them. So to be confronted with this person who just pretends everything's regular and normal is just kind of difficult. And I think that disappointment, that embarrassment at being confronted with that is kind of what they predominantly felt. But I think that ultimately getting a little bit of information and closure as far as, you know, what Dad's deal is was kind of important. So I think in the end they feel a little better about it, and they might not go out of their way to go track Dad down given what they found out, but if they do happen to run into each other, I don't think it's going to be something they're upset about in the future.
Yeah. You answered the question. My follow-up question was going to be, is there a part of them that wishes they could just still kind of live in that blissful ignorance? But you kind of said it yourself, that they needed some kind of closure. So, oh gosh. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to a question that was actually asked last time on Fourth Watch, but our darling Eris was not here. Salix.
Oh no.
Was Sentinel your first crush?
Oh gosh.
Or were there others? Who were they? Do you have a type?
So
it's a lot of questions, but they're all kind of tied together in a nice little bow.
First part of that, Sentinel was not the first person that Salix was interested in. Salix did have a thing for one of the other elves in the grove. Well, he was visiting from another grove. His name was Ayan. And we'll just say that Salix ended up hurt by it, and somehow Ayan ended up with poison ivy in his leathers, and nobody actually knows how that happened.
Purely coincidental, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Karma.
Must have been.
Okay.
Now, because Salix has never disclosed what actually happened, he still lives.
Fair. So are there, go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was just, well, not he still lives, but he probably would have been hurt quite a bit more if Kendall had found out what had really happened between them.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
Sounds about right. So is there, so are there, so if we're talking about type, are there certain qualities that Ayan possessed that Sentinel may also possess?
Salix needs someone that she can not, that she can feel weak around. Just someone that she knows that she can have that moment where she's not the strong person, and she knows that everything will be fine. And that's essentially what she gets from Kendall, but not in a romantic way. It's more of that, I know that this person always has my back, and if I need that moment of weakness where I'm just like, just let me cry like a baby, it's fine. But she, you know,
yeah,
if she's looking for a romantic partner, that's the biggest thing.
That's good.
She needs someone she can be weak with.
Oh, that's good. All right.
Also, sorry, Mindy, to interrupt you, but
they also have to get along with Kendall.
Yes, that. No, so that specific story that like Eris got into, there's two sides of it, and if you want to know what it is, definitely go sign up for the Patreon, because the character interviews both have that question answered in a way, and you get Kendall's side of it and you get Salix's side of it. So if you kind of want to know what happened, like that's there.
Go check out the Patreon, y'all. Um,
There's also more about Ayan in there.
there's so much good stuff over there. Okay.
Yeah.
So, let's. So I have a question that is honestly like a DM question, and we're just gonna play a little quick, short, baby speculation game. And you guys might actually know because it might have been, and I might have missed it. But is the sword that Kendall saw the sword of Cass? Do we think that it is? Do we think that it's definitely not? Are we just like, we don't know, we're just going to find the sword because that's what we're supposed to do? Because that's
That
honestly,
one.
that's good. Okay,
That-
that's
Yeah.
usually where I live. That's
Yeah.
fair.
I really enjoy not thinking and letting things just happen. But if Juan Carlos had to guess, I would say yes.
Okay. And we won't know until we get the sword, and even then we may not know.
But to be fair, Eris had to tell me that I was getting visions from the Raven Queen. So I may not be the best judge of
It's fair. Okay,
I love
so
you very, very much. Strength. It's not. I love you very much.
so let's
not
get
the brightest.
you are. So, what creature do each of you fear the most? Gonna do a whole group. Back to whole group. What creature do you fear the most? And again, this is one that is either I gotta really think about it or I automatically know.
Oh, I automatically know if everybody wants
Oh.
to think about it. I don't know if this kind of falls under the parameters, but it would definitely be the Raven Queen, the goddess of death and afterlife. A lot of people know that Kendall kind of struggles with his own mortality as even as an elf, and the fact that now he is under the employer / pact or friendship with the Raven Queen, that makes him feel a little better about it. But I think that would have been that's the answer.
Oh, you know what? Salix would probably say some sort of sea creature. Because she's at home on the ground.
Okay.
I feel like Dev isn't well traveled enough to have like a creature or a monster they're like really afraid of, but I think based on what we've done so far, I mean, the Banshee literally scared them to death. So I think Banshees are going to be right up there.
He's fair. He's fair. What about Kiri? Then I have a follow-up question for you, Alex.
I have a follow-up
Well, first
question
I'm
for
gonna
Ren.
say that I misinterpreted this question, and I thought you were asking us as individuals, not us as from the frame of references or characters.
Oh,
So
well, you
I'm
could
gonna
share both.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I, Alex, am terrified of Bodax because I always throw them at my players and I know what they can do. But that's another discussion.
Oh no.
Noted.
Yeah, right. Have mercy, Camille, please. Anyway, I don't know if fear is the right word. I don't know if fear was the word used in the question, but I think Kiri really doesn't like Ettercaps, as definitely at least as far as things we've encountered. Because
was probably the follow question there.
they were
yeah,
because Ettercaps are things that eat fey creatures, and very specifically, and this is to some extent meta knowledge, but I mean, I imagine Kiri could determine some of this in the real world. Ettercaps are like CR2, so they're not these giant unbeatable things that are, fighting archfey and, dragging these shits out to a cave to feast on for months. Like, these are these human-sized bulbous spider things, and they don't eat large fae. They eat like pixies and sprites and quicklings and other things that come across as not defenseless, but Like, come on, you're an asshole if you eat a Sprite. Like, they're like yay big.
I mean, that's kind. I mean, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think specifically because they eat stuff like that, they eat fey things to begin with. Kiri really does not like ettercaps.
That makes sense. Juan, what was your follow-up question for you hit on my follow-up question, Alex. That's why I'm not following up. But Juan, what was your follow-up question for Ren?
Why doesn't Dev believe in the undead?
It's mostly a bit. But I mean, come on. That stuff's weird and just it's bizarre. I mean, there's all sorts of strange stuff, but come on.
They just don't want to.
They don't want to, but what's
They
it?
just don't believe
That's what
it.
I'm hearing. They just don't wanna.
What's it gonna take for Dev to kind of be like, wait a second?
Probably reading a necromancer's notebook and seeing an actual ritual, but let's hope that never comes up.
That probably would never happen in our campaign.
Yeah,
Let's
that
be-
would never
It's not gonna
happen.
happen.
It's not like anyone would force our characters to dig up bodies and raise them into zombies or something.
We definitely didn't stop a ritual halfway through by killing all of the cultists and rescuing the prisoner.
And we definitely don't have a necromancer's notebook on our person.
Exactly. So
That
that'll
has
never
been
happen.
passed around. It's not, definitely not at all.
Not a possibility.
Wow. Yep. All right. So I'm gonna jump to you. Let's jump to Kendall for a minute. Because there are a lot of questions, especially since I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but this is not a spoiler-free zone. I feel like it's probably already too late for that, but
Just the bit.
but just in case, it's not leave now. But there were a lot of questions from our wonderful Ophir, all our Ophir Bays, asking about the Raven Queen. Now that Kendall has officially taken a level of Warlock and I'm assuming the Raven Queen is the declared patron. There are a lot of questions in regard to that. So does Kendall think that his contract with the Raven Queen will stop once he completes her mission? Or does he imagine it being bigger? Is he just a pawn?
So I've actually thought about this a lot. And I was thinking about it only because the session right after the pact, Salix got herself out of her situation, and therefore Kendall didn't do anything, yet he started a pact. And I started thinking about what the Raven Queen actually said and what Kendall said. It was along the lines of, you'll have the power to save Salix, right? Like, just Cliff Notes, that's what was said. There was no time limit on that. So in Kendall's head, it's, you'll always have the power to save her. So it hasn't finished. He may even think that he doesn't have the power yet because he hasn't done anything for the Raven Queen. So, I mean, he entered that pact and he's got to go do the things that she has outlined for him. But in doing so, he's expecting to be able to always save his sister, and therefore made a very worthwhile deal.
So I feel like you kind of answered this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So are there any reservations that Kendall has? Anything? So this sounds great. Being able to protect Salix is great. You know, do this little thing over here for the Raven Queen once in a while. Great, but I get to keep my sister and my friends safe. Are there any reservations?
As of right now, no. I mean, Kendall's he's not a simple guy or anything, but how do I put it? he understands that he now like works for the Raven Queen, and which is why he bowed to her at the end of the pack, calling her his queen. You know, like because the question before about what he fears is, you know, it's dying without accomplishing anything with his life. He feels that even with whatever the lifespan of an elf has, that he may not accomplish anything worthwhile. And now here's a god asking him, "Hey, go do stuff for me." And in his mind, that's telling him, "Yeah, now I can do something that matters. It matters at least to a god, right?" And not only do I get to do that, and I get to be able to protect my sister um, a lot better than I've previously been able to, especially because he lost his sister right beforehand, not knowing exactly where she was at. So she kind of popped in the right frame of mind for Kendall and offered him this very, in his mind, one-sided deal. He's getting all the benefits out of it in his opinion, and no, I don't think there's any reservations. I mean, there might be later on, whatever something might happen, but as of right now, no, he's good to go. He's happy.
I was gonna say somebody make a note of that, and we'll ask that question again next fourth watch. Um, so, uh, one more question relating to the warlockiness, and then I will leave you be, and I will skip Alex. You're next. um, I lost my question. Guys, I have so many things on my paper right now. It's fine. So does Kendall feel relieved that this new warlock power is an escape of identity from feeling ostracized by the rest of the druids in his grove? Or is he somewhat hesitant to stray from his original grove teaching? So is it a good feeling like this is a step further away, or is it like it is kind of a step further away, but like kind of looking behind, like where's his head in relation to those two things coming together? Where's his head at?
Um, I think he's happy that finally there's something that he may actually be able to, in his mind, succeed at. He's 101 years old, and he spent a lot of that time feeling inadequate. And now, finally, he has a reason to. He's got a goal. Because his goal leaving the Grove was to find something, and he found something. What that end goal is, or what's he going to end up finding at the end of his journey, he doesn't know, but he's happy for this new beginning. And to be honest, he probably doesn't think a lot about. He tries to push away all those thoughts about being in the Grove and not being a druid.
Okay. All right. Alex, what help does Kiri hope to enlist by posting that Sylvan wanted ad in the town square in Grassgrave?
I'm fishing for hags. Yep.
Okay.
Hags are deal makers and problem solvers, and if anyone can get this sword out of a dragon's lair without actually ending up in a situation where we need to fight a dragon, or maybe worse, work for a dragon.
So would Kiri be willing to make a deal with hags?
Oh, absolutely. Kiri loves hags. Kiri thinks they're the best.
Right. I'm gonna split this now because a little while ago, a few weeks ago, there was a very intense moment between Salix and Kiri. And a lot of time has passed. It wasn't that big of a deal, right? It was fine. We're not just gonna burn your home down.
Just details. It's okay.
So the question, one of our bays asked, what are Salix's thoughts on Kiri right now? They said they would burn down her grove, but then there were also some tender moments and complex conversations afterward. And I would also like to get Kiri's perspective too, because what they said was no small thing. And I think even in the intensity of that, like recognizing the weight of what was shared and how it was shared. So where are Salix and Kiri in relation to each other and in relation to that specifically looking at that moment because that was a huge moment.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Salix understands that while she has a good amount of life experience in regards to lived years, she knows nothing of things outside of her grove. She's aware of this. And she knows that the world is bigger and more complicated than she has the capability to understand, I should say. And that there's like Curies from the Feywild. Things work differently there. Just all around. She doesn't know very much about it. And she obviously doesn't know that much about her grove either. Just what the elders have told her all of her life. She also she sees that Kiri is obviously a person that cares for people. Before they even got introduced, episode 1, they reached out and healed her. There's obviously some sort of level of morality, and they wouldn't go to such extremes if they didn't feel some sort of passion about it, much less be completely honest and tell her that they feel this way. The entire situation that they are looking at is something that she doesn't know and can't probably not completely comprehend in the knowledge that she's gained. So to her, they look like a very complex, complicated creature, and she doesn't know what exactly to expect there. But she sees that they're obviously kind and they care, at least for her and her brother and Dev as individuals. So there's a certain level there that what was the question again? It's very hot in here.
You answered you answered it. You're good. It's a complicated thing, and Salix recognizes that it's a complicated thing, and
yeah, it's
sure. Yeah. What about Kiri?
Can I get a quick refresher on the question?
So the question was, there was that really intense moment.
Yeah.
Where Kiri was basically like, hey, like if we have the chance, they'd burn your home down. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
I remember that.
Yeah. And then we had some tender moments that followed in the, because this was probably about a month ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And time wise, not in game. So where and you can take us through the process of all of that if you want. Like where is Kiri in that moment, and where are they now?
Sure. I'm probably going to work backwards. I think that Kiri's opinion of Salix never really changed throughout that process because they were the one kind of initiating these controversial discussions. So,
I was going to say interactions.
Yeah. So, because of that, I it's not like there's only so many ways someone can react to that kind of a statement. So I don't think that Kiri lost any respect for Salix or anything like that after that interaction. That kind of just had to be, There wasn't many other reactions they could have hoped for. But in the moment, I will say 2 things from their perspective that led them to be so blunt. The first of them is that Kiri is by nature an honest creature. So much to the point where that they think like, yes, this is painful and this is going to cause a problem if I say it. but it will be an even bigger problem if I don't. Because if I don't, Salix is going to stand there and think I'm okay with this. She is going to stand there and think that I have no problem with what's going on at her grove. And that is not true. And she deserves to know where I stand, because if she doesn't want to keep traveling with me, that's fine. Even when Kiri first first asked Salix for the book, which they is where they learned this information, Kiri told Salix basically to kill them if Salix felt like they were going too far. And Kiri was aware that that's something that they had mentioned. So Salix deserved to know exactly where everybody stood and exactly where everybody was at, so that they could make the best that she can make the best decision that she can make. And I'll also say that what Kiri actually read in that book was not benign. They have an issue with they have an issue with the Grove, even beyond the fact that it seems to be tied to the Sealy Court. And I don't want to get into that for the sake of spoilers, but Kiri also, from as detached a perspective as they could generate, also had a little bit of a problem with the Grove to begin with. So it's not like they're like, oh, I'm going to be doing this awful thing to innocent people for the greater good. They're not necessarily convinced of any innocence in this situation.
Dang, those were some good answers. Okay, so
Yeah, that was a great answer.
So let's take a step back and look at the party as a whole again. So who do you all feel the group's biggest threat would be at this point? Do you think that anybody is after you? Are you being pursued? Are you avoiding possible enemies along the way? I will also say for the
I
pause that question. Pause that question in your brain and just think about your thing. But Alex,
okay,
great follow-up question, and I definitely thank you so much for pointing that out to me from Mayor Feather. Do you think that Kiri's blunt honestness is going to put them in a bad situation in the future?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. If we come into contact with the wrong prideful asshole, this is going to be a problem. I don't think that like, for instance, I don't think Fate's Chosen are particularly gentle with Areo, but I could definitely see Kiri coming into some kind of conflict with a big important leader like that, and just being very, very blunt about what they think. And now, granted, a lot of the bluntness in that situation came from the fact that they were in their winter form and they were feeling feelings. So a little situational, and in some situations they might be able to be honest, but maybe not blunt. But yeah, I could absolutely see their honesty being a big fucking problem.
Can't wait to see that unfold in the future. All right, so back to great answer, great question, Mayor. So back to my whole group question. Who's the biggest group threat right now? Who's the biggest threat to your group? Do you think that you're being pursued? You've come into contact with a couple of different or do you think that you have maybe skirted any possible enemies you've made along the way? Are you just on this adventure right now and nobody's really after you? Now that you don't have the book anymore, so is anybody following you?
So we don't have one book, but we do have other books from Azurkai. Right. And I feel that that the only real enemy we might have is the fake Azurkai, who may want to try save face with the real Azurkai. Losing that many books is a giant blunder, and I feel like a wannabe necromancer is going to do everything they possibly can to make sure that the real necromancer doesn't know that they fucked up so hard. Although I don't think they know it was us, so I don't know.
You know, they had. Okay, so here's the thing: necromancers are kind of smart.
Yes.
And the fake guy, Faker Kai,
Solid.
the Faker Kai knew who he had taken, at least to an extent. He had our description, knew we escaped recently, and then suddenly his books are missing.
That's totally normal. I don't know
That
what you're-
happens all the time.
Yeah.
You know what? You're right, because the whole reason Kendall went in there was to get your stuff back, and your stuff
Yeah.
was gone. So,
Yeah.
so to reiterate my question, yeah, Azur Kai's little minion.
might need to worry about that later, at least. He might not be powerful enough to track us immediately, but
He may
if
not
we
be,
run into
but
him.
I bet you is the real Azur Kai finds out.
It's fine. Everything's
It's fine.
fine.
Everything's fine. This
Everything's
is
fine.
great.
All this discussion is hilarious because Alex, I'm sure Alex will tell us who the true enemy to everyone would be in this world.
Leona.
Oh,
Obviously.
I was gonna say
Leona's
Dev.
the true
It's
villain.
Leona.
Alex and
y'all.
Leona are
It's the
friends.
true
It's
threat.
fine.
It's fine.
That's why it's gonna be such a
Leona's
big
friends with
betrayal.
everybody. Y'all, I've already told you it's not Leona. It's actually me. It's Mindy. I am the BBEG.
Okay. Fair.
Um,
Fair. Entirely fair. I am. I'm not so much worried about Azokai, the Dark Nephew, or whoever the fake one was.
Yes,
not really worried
Azur-Kai,
about
the
that
dark
guy.
nephew.
You know, because honestly, I think we can take him. I do. That's not based on any evidence whatsoever. I have no idea about this kid's capabilities except for the fact that he speaks Elvish. So that's pure speculation. But I'm not quite as worried about him. What I'm worried about is that cultist that we tied up with a failing sleight of hand check and left in the middle of a cave after killing every one of his friends and interrogating
Yep.
him and getting Sura out of there. And it's the fucking Vecna cult or whatever. Like, you know what? If there's anybody left to be mad at us after we got rid of the book, it's those guys. It's those
Don't
guys
worry.
for sure.
Camille never remembers all those little details of the people that you screwed over. She doesn't remember those things at all. So it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be great.
I can't wait to see them again.
Anything you would like to add, Ren?
Oh, geez. No, I don't. I don't have anything to add because Dev does not think anyone's coming after them. Everything's great. Everything's fine. This is just all a bunch of really obnoxious circumstances, and we get through everything, and everything's gonna wind up being all right.
Yeah, can relate. All right, so Dev, or Ren. Sorry, I read Dev. Ren, I'm gonna stick with you for a second.
No,
I'm gonna bump back to the dad stuff
the
because-
dad stuff.
because you learned families are we didn't learn we
I went and
we're
found my
reminded.
dad.
We went and found your dad. So, but your dad
My
is
dad.
not your only family.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to say to your mom now that you found out your dad is a Deva?
No. Because I don't know if they know.
Okay.
Would Dev?
In fact, that's the one question I didn't ask that I realized afterwards that I should have asked. So,
Will Dev spill the beans to their mom?
no, I don't think so.
So when we say spill the beans, do we mean like those beans, or do we mean like opening the can, like, hey, I met Dad?
They write home. At this point, I'm gonna say infrequently.
Sure.
but they do write home. So I'm sure at some point a letter is going to be sent back to Featherton that says, "Hey, I ran into Dad, and he said he's sorry." No, we didn't, but we'll just say that he said he's sorry
Sure.
because reasons, and leave it at that.
So I imagine if you have no intention of telling your mom, you also do not have any intention of telling Des, your sister. Is that true, or are you more likely to tell Desiree?
I think they'd probably be liable to tell their sister, but they'd
Okay.
want to do it in person if they ever do.
Sure.
So,
So, okay.
not till I head back home.
Sure. So then what do you think your sister will say or think about the information that you have about your dad now? What do you think her reaction, if you could predict what would you think her reaction would be?
Gut reaction is disbelief. Should probably defer to mom. So that's the other thing. It's like if Dev does tell their sister, they'd have to worry about her turning around and asking mom about it. So they have that consideration as well. So it's kind of tricky. You know, families and stuff.
Families are so complicated.
I don't think anybody asked, but how does Dev feel knowing their background now? Do they feel different? Do they just how do they feel?
Is
How does
it
it-
registering that they, because that's their dad, like that does that, is it
How does it feel to be a real angel? To know that you really are one?
But I'm not.
They sleep like one. Oh,
They're all such weirdos. I don't think Dev really sees it as any difference, because they literally don't know what change that has made on their life. So, as far as they're aware, it's just status quo. Nothing's different. Nothing to worry about. Everything's fine. Move along, and we'll see what happens. But I mean, heck, when they were talking to their dad, he was like, "I don't know if you got any of powers or if you got any abilities." So even the goddamn Deva doesn't know if it means anything for Dev. So why fret over it, you know? So
oh gosh. All right, y'all. So we are about an hour in, so we're gonna take a quick little break. We're all gonna get some water, stretch our legs, grab a snack. We suggest you all do the same. We have more questions. If you want to send more questions on the Discord, you may do so, or on the chat. I'm transferring as we speak. But we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back to dig some more. How are you? Are we muted?
no, you're good now.
Hey! Welcome back. We're just having a great old time
hey,
learning stuff.
burning stuff?
Oh, man.
I haven't burned anything, okay? Not one thing.
You've burned some torches.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I meant today.
Just today, specifically today. All right, so we are going to jump back into some Fourth Watch. We're going to have a great time. Got some good questions, some really good group questions coming up that I'm pretty excited about. But we're going to start nice and light because, got to transition back into the thinking brain. So, sweet Sunday friends. Is Dev's dad Gilderoy Lockhart?
Nuh-uh.
Yes.
Nuh-uh.
Wait, that prompts another question. Is Gilderoy Lockhart a Deva?
Even better question.
Don't think so.
No,
Definitely don't think so.
No.
he takes on the persona of Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yeah, he's kind of like an anti-Gilderoy Lockhart in that he's more competent than he seems, but he's
That's
still
true.
really flashy and obnoxious. So it's just enough similarity that you can make the comparison.
But he is capable, and he hasn't written any
Yeah.
books.
No, he just gave all that information to Tess, and he assumes that it's going to disseminate from there.
Did he really give the information to her though? Because she traveled with him, so I feel like she's doing it of her own volition.
Tess did not travel with him.
Oh, I thought.
No,
Oh.
he ran into, he kind of like you all stumbled upon their zoo.
What do you mean by zoo? What does that mean?
I mean,
Family.
We literally didn't know how many children there were. It's fine. We knew they were going to have plenty of children. There were plenty of children.
Oh, I thought you meant Clark's zoo, not okay.
No.
Tess,
That's
Tess
where
has-
Clark. Yeah, no, Clark ran into Tess at kind of like you all did, stumbled upon them in the wildwoods.
Okay.
Outside of Grassgrave. Although I will
Okay.
Although I will say that information will be distributed pretty quickly, knowing Tess. So,
Oops.
I was under the impression that they had traveled together for just a little bit or something, but now that's going to throw in a whole lot of perspective changes for the way Dev approaches what Tess told them. Because you had some pretty high praise of someone you just met.
She's also a bard.
So you can talk shit about people as a bard.
I mean, that's fair, but she also
In fact,
knew.
if I was a bard, that's what I'd do.
I mean, that's all Leona does behind everyone's back. So she.
That's not true at all.
Caster's
No,
a
but
bitch.
But no, going back to kind of what we talked about earlier with Tess was, I will, and Dev can think whatever Dev wants, which is
Yes, they will.
they can, yep. But there's always an element of, for Tess at least, of exaggerating truths. But yeah, she did not travel with their dad. Sorry. Okay. Next question. Salix, sorry, I feel like I just it's fine. I just changed Dev's whole world. It's fine. Sorry, Ren.
Oh my gosh.
So, Eris, couple questions for you. We're trying to play a little bit of catch up since you weren't here for Fourth Watch and we couldn't pick your brain for like weird random things then. We're gonna pick your brain now. What's one thing, something that Salix is dying to learn?
How to extend someone's lifetime?
For herself or for someone else?
It's a great question.
I like the answer. If Salix could be any flower, what would it be? It has to be a flower, can't be a tree.
Should probably be a sunflower.
I like that answer.
Because it grows tall. The seeds are edible and are able to be used for other things other than just like toasting them and eating them or eating them raw with some salt.
So Salix just wants to plant her seed in people's mouths?
No.
And that's
Shut
the
up.
end of Sunday Friends. Don't tell Camille, but the campaign is over now. I'm ending it right here. I love you all. It's been a great ride.
It's been nice.
But
Thanks a lot,
unfortunately,
Mindy.
wait, how is this my fault?
You take over Sunday, friends, and now we're done.
You are the
Fine, did this.
BBEG. You just
I-
end the game.
You're right. This was my plan all along.
What? Why are you like this?
I don't know. Why are you like this?
I was just saying it's useful in a lot of different ways. And other plants use them, their stalks and leaves to climb up mining plants. So they're useful to other plants around them.
Oh, thanks for making it wholesome again. Okay. So
Juan Carlos is the one that did that.
it's
Blame
fine.
Fuzzy.
We're just going to pretend that nothing was said. It's totally not recorded and available for
Yeah.
everybody on Twitch at all. It's fine. Camille's
Can I-
only never gonna let me run Fourth Watch ever again, ever in life. It's fine. It's fine. I've enjoyed my time. I will bow gracefully after this. But I've got a few more questions before I retire.
Can I quickly add to the sunflower thing because I have
Yeah.
random knowledge on this? So
Yes.
fun fact: you can also use sunflowers to absorb arsenic from soil and remediate land through sunflower gardens. So just thought you should. know.
Boom.
Oh.
That's
Boom.
beautiful. Thank you.
Great.
Oh.
Give me another reason. To
That's
love
cool and all,
sunflowers
Alex, but I
even more.
really like what I said.
That makes me yeah. You know, there were a lot of great thoughts thrown out in that question. We're gonna move on. So to Eris, we're gonna stick with Salix and Kendall for a second. So
Oh.
our twins. Do you think that the very close relationship between the siblings will keep the characters from growing as people since they heavily rely on each other? So, and my addendum to this question is, do you think there will ever be a time when they feel comfortable growing apart? Like, and what will that look like? What would that take?
We've actually talked about this.
You wanna go
We talked about
first?
This quite a lot. You can go first.
No, go for it, Petals.
So, they're so dependent on each other, and that's obvious. The thing is, though, is that part of their journey is learning how to not depend on each other, but to trust that the other will be there when they need them. It's both of them need other things in their lives, and I think under it all they both know that. And they're both searching for whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, I essentially agree with all that. I don't know if I like the saying that they're dependent. I feel like they're independent a lot in their own ways, and they don't want to be. I feel that they know they have to be independent to some sort, and they know that day will come. And I think right now the way that it seems that they're dependent, I feel like is more of them both trying to spend as much time as they possibly can together because they know that this won't last forever. So I think
Okay,
more.
yeah, I'm gonna edit my statement.
I think Kendall is more dependent on Salix, and he's very much looking for a way to not be dependent on her, and she's there to make sure that he does find that. So, and I think they will be comfortable at some time.
See, it's funny because I feel like Salix is after leaving the Grove, Salix is just following Kendall's lead. Like, she's making her own decisions, but she's just like, okay, whatever Kendall wants to do, that's what we're doing.
I hope that answered the question.
I think it did. Well, and I think part of that question is one that, like, you can speculate all you want, but what it looks like in reality in the actual gameplay is something different. Which is why these questions are so great, because it's so fun to come back and look at them in the next fourth watch and be like, oh, so this is a whole group question. Lots of whole group questions now. So if your character could learn one thing from a fellow party member without them knowing, what would it be? And I'm going to let y'all sit and kind of think about it, because there's a lot of potential in this question.
I need the question again. Hold on.
If your character could learn one thing from a fellow party member without them knowing, what would it be? That without them knowing is, I think, the important part. So if there was a question that you really want to answer, but you know they're not going to answer, or there's something that's like you really want to know, but like you don't want them to know that you know, what would it be?
What
Oh, that's a
Kiri
tough
would have
question.
done with that book?
What Kiri, what?
Would have done with that book? Or the information in that book?
Don't need to talk about that. It's fine.
Oh, geez, that's a real tough question there.
It's a good. It was
That's
a
a
really,
really
good
tough question.
I know mine.
Go for it.
Please.
It would be, well, I've already alluded to it, but Dev would totally like to know more about Kiri's mysterious past so that they can empathize better. And that's that.
I think it's so interesting that both questions are pertaining to Kiri, who I think is probably one of the. Yeah, there's some mystery, but Kiri is also proven to be very straightforward. So, but I guess that makes sense because this is something that you wouldn't want them to know that you know, potentially. So, I just think that's interesting.
For
What
the
would-
record, if it were two things, that would have been my second thing.
I think Kiri would like to know the exact details of Kendall's relationship with the Raven Queen and what kind of direct line of communication they have or don't have. What are the nature of the abilities he gets from her and the favors he has to do in return. I think Kiri would really like to know all about that.
Okay. What about Kendall?
Jeez, that's I don't know because Kendall's very go with the flow, not go with the flow, but just like things happen and it's like, oh well, things happened. Ooh, I think you know what I know. Kendall wants to know what's in Dev's diary. All of it.
That's the answer we all should have said.
You'll never
That's the
find
correct
out.
answer to that question.
You'll never find out.
But
don't mind me. I was just taking notes for Camille so she doesn't have to watch whole fourth watch if she doesn't want to. Okay, so so this is a good question. So what has been your favorite character role play moment? And I think I'm gonna actually challenge you to. You can think about a big role play moment that you really enjoyed watching, but I'm going to, because I think this is something that which I think would be good. Favorite character role play moment for you that you were a part of as well. So if you want to share and like really brag on a particular moment with other players, that's fine. But highlight yourself.
Kiri's monologue, their prayer to the queen was probably my favorite monologue. Period.
It was really good.
You said like you were a part of, right?
Or that you so I will go back to Eris, yes. So it has so
God.
I want you to share something. You can share whatever you want about any other players, but I want everybody to share at least one thing, one moment that you were a part of, whether it was a role play moment with another character or if it was like Kiri's monologue.
Okay,
A
so
moment that you in particular are proud of. But if you want to, we can brag on each other all day too. But
okay, then I'll give you the two-part question. One that I wasn't a part of. or Kendall wasn't a part of, was definitely Dev's. We're best friends, remember? With the drawing. Loved it. 100%. Top notch. And I think the one that Kendall was a part of was a conversation that he had with Kiri about talking about finding your own home.
I will say that Dev Kiri interaction, I cried like a baby, like a small child, like sobbed while I watched. So I second that.
Yeah, you got me
So-
on that one too.
I think getting you got me more too.
Wait, no, I changed mine. Kiri's hug. That one. I
Oh,
forgot about it.
yes. Oh,
Kiri's
yeah.
hug. That's mine.
Mhm. I
Oh
am
my
going to do a
gosh.
lightning round version of one for each character because I have one very specific in mind.
Yes.
And these are like the two instances of this happening. But when Kendall got mad at Kiri and Kiri got mad in response, and when Salix got mad at Kiri for trying to give away the book, and I think because of how Kiri had been presenting up until that point, I think that everybody, myself included, kind of expected them to fold. But the fact that they just didn't, and they were really, really convinced of what they were saying and of what they did. I like that conflict. I like the fight. And so I had a great time with both of those, and I love how they were both initiated because they were both initiated by Kendall and Salix respectively. It was just a lot of fun. I had so much fun doing that. And then of course the one with Dev being best friends. Never gonna forget that one. I'm gonna be
So you
80
liked
years old.
fighting us and being best friends with Dev. Got it.
Yes.
We need new
Yeah.
We need new traveling companions.
Message read loud and clear. Heard loud and clear.
No.
Sweet.
I just haven't fought Dev yet. We don't know what that roleplay is gonna look like.
It's true. It's true.
That's gonna be
I'm
awful when it does happen.
Hard to imagine, honestly, which means I'm here for it.
Favorite moment. I mean, there's been so many good ones, obviously, but I think some of my favorite for Kendall is probably like the aftermath after everyone got their butts beat in the forest and Salix got kidnapped. That was probably like some of the best. And kind of going off that too, Salix's staunch refusal to really cooperate, even when it was like, yep, just go ahead and fucking kill me. That was some really sweet role play too.
Okay, can I jump in real quick and say that's the moment that I'm proud of, that I like kept it together there.
Yeah.
That was intense.
Because I was messaging Camille like, I'm so sorry. Please try not to kill me. I mean, I get it if you did, because I literally just said do it, but oh god, what am I doing
like-
right now?
But like, please don't. If you cannot, that would be great.
She's like, why are you like this? It's so good. Why are you like this?
It was good. It all worked out. Everything's fine.
It's fine.
For Kiri, I mean, anytime they pray is always a tear jerker. But I, in particular, really liked Kiri talking with the sprite because it's just been a very like frank, earnest conversation, and I've really enjoyed that. And since I have to pick one I'm involved with, I just like how I enjoyed how exasperated with Clark Dev was.
Rightfully so. Yeah. Y'all are amazing. So I'm sure there are 1,000 more moments we could talk about. In fact, I'm going to share some of the ones that were dropped in the chat because the chat offered a few of their favorites. So Pixel Cat, one of Pixel Cat's favorite is when Kiri beat down the humanoid and got flashbacks from the war. That was really well done. That was really cool. Or when the Evertrees played off of each other and Salix jumped off Kendall's back to like deal the killing blow. All about some all the
We love
all the
us some combo moves.
all the
Yeah, all
combo
the
moves.
Evertree combo moves are great.
Dax just said Dev carrying
Dev
the
carrying the turkey. Yep.
Yes.
I'm gonna say that's also one of my
That's a
favorite
good one.
roleplay moments because it was such a good continuation from the previous scene.
Yes.
Like we cut back
Yes.
in and and they're like, Dev still has that turkey, and we're like, yeah, they do.
Especially because Dev
gotta
is,
eat.
especially because Dev does not look like doing hard work, but carrying a turkey, yes,
it's like yes.
We're doing
that.
Rules. Yes.
yes. Mindy, why don't
All right.
Mindy? Because I like the praise. I'm tipsy and I'm enjoying the praise. Why don't you tell us all your favorite moments for all of us?
Okay. So all right, I'm here for this.
I have one more.
Oh gosh.
I liked when the first scene of the first time I played on this channel. I had a scene with you, Mindy, and neither one of us knew what was going on. But as soon as Camille described it, we went straight into what two women in that situation would end up doing,
Absolutely.
and we're instantly friends. And we didn't have no messages,
Nope.
nothing. We had not at all of any bit of a clue what we were doing, but we just
I
rolled
loved
with
it.
I loved it.
It was great. It's still a moment up there. So I will say some of these are things you've already heard, and I can elaborate. I really enjoy for Kendall. I'm gonna go around a circle. For me, it's not a circle. That's not how circles work, y'all.
Too many corners
So
for a circle there, Mindy.
it's not even corners. It's like, okay, it's fine. I know how shapes work. I'm a math teacher. For Kendall, I've really enjoyed watching the progression with the Raven Queen. So I've really watched like from the initial like not necessarily impulsive, but almost like I need to save my sister. And then it kind of evolving and growing from that to getting to a place where you are kneeling to this deity and declaring essentially your loyalty and your worship, as it were, to her. That whole thing has been really beautiful to watch. And I love the Raven Queen too. So like that doesn't hurt. For Salix, I'm so selfishly, I won't use this in my moment, but selfishly, I love when we send messages to each other across campaigns. That's one of my faves. But no, I think it's really interesting, and I'm gonna hark back to a question that was asked earlier about what's Salix's type, and I think we've seen so many examples of Salix, trying to keep it together, trying to, and if nothing else, give the impression that everything's together, and I'm I'm gonna get everybody's ducks in a row. I'm not necessarily gonna be getting the ducks in a row, but I'm gonna make sure you have your ducks in a row. And seeing that not only we see it a lot with Kendall, but seeing it expand across to Kiri and Dev has also been a delight. And seeing this is turning into call outs, which is a problem because I am very long-winded because I have a lot of things to say.
No.
But
We can time you.
we do that on Mondays because Kate and I are very long-winded. So yes, I don't have a favorite moment. Now I'm not even talking about favorite moments. I'm just talking about things. I'm sorry. Y'all are just so wonderful. Okay. Alex, Kiri. I also, as someone who, have a faith plays a big part in my life, my personal life. So I very much so agree with the sentiment of the prayers being very meaningful and profound, and you execute them so beautifully that it's fine. You just make me cry all the time. It's fine. I don't cry. I just like tear up a little bit and then my eyes start to leak a lot. It's fine, but everything's fine. It's great. But those are some of my favorite RP moments.
I can actually elaborate on that real quickly. Honestly, it's coming from a lot of the same place for like me too. Like just for this moment in time, this character, I wanted to explore a character who has faith in something that they don't know if it's there. They still have their faith. They're not looking to get out, but they don't know if it's there or not. And so just this really frank expression of just that question. That's what I wanted to tackle with this character, and I'm having a ton of fun doing it.
Well, you're really capturing it very well. Too well, my eyeballs would say when they rain. But yes. And then Ren, I really enjoyed, I mean, obviously the drawing and when I say I cried like a baby, y'all, I mean, it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. It was great because nobody could see me, but I was sobbing, like ugly crying. But aside from those little moments that you really capture, I really appreciated this last little arc of, finding your dad and like getting answers and really grappling with, okay, what do these answers mean? Now that I have my answers, what does it mean for me? How do I feel about those answers? And then how does this help me move forward? How do I move forward? How does it impact what I thought I knew and where I go from here? And I felt like you captured that transition in itself very, very well. So yeah, those are my favorite moments for you all because y'all are amazing and I love you. I could keep talking, but there are more questions to ask. Does that satisfy your tipsy praise high Juan Carlos?
100%.
100%.
Just DM me the rest of
Boo.
it because I'd like to read it.
I got you. All right. So this is a good question. Taking kind of a step back as players, that Alex actually asked earlier, as playing in this particular campaign, has playing this game changed how you play D&D in any way, like overall? And has observing Camille changed how you run games for those of you that DM?
So first of all, I find myself wanting to use these cards all the time. Yeah, like literally just in my normal everyday life. I just want to flash the green card when something happens that makes me happy.
When I'm watching Sunday Friends, I often go to reach for my card, and then I'm like, wait a minute, no, chat.
Nobody can see me.
But I do it all the time.
Yeah. Gosh, and getting to know these lovely people. Like Juan Carlos and I didn't know each other at all when this whole thing started, and we talk literally every day. I probably talk to Juan more than I talk to my own husband. It's fine. We have more to catch up on.
That's fair.
Yeah. Anybody else?
There's a lot of awkward silence going on right now. So playing in this game is a lot of fun. It's super awesome. It's the most consistent D&D I've played in. I'm gonna go with ever, and I want to say it's a little bit spoiling because of how terrific everything is. Um, I have played a lot of games in my day, and I am gonna go out on a limb here and say that I haven't played in a game that is this level of excellence in both roleplay and story cohesion and um, attention to detail as I've seen in anything. Um, so I suppose it's helped me hone my skills a little bit. I've still obviously always got room to improve in my role play or descriptions or things of that nature. Um, but it's definitely 100% like hands down the best thing. And I haven't really DM'd much, so I can't say I've really like recently I haven't DM'd much, so I can't say I've really taken any um, ticks or trips or I
It was
have
a
not
lot of
nicked.
it's a lot
I
of
have not nicked anything because everybody's DM style is different, and it's very hard to try and incorporate someone else's way of doing things because it, to an extent, can make yours less authentic. So you just kind of learn from it and do what you can. So
So I haven't really played a lot of D&D as a player. I can go ahead and say that this is probably like the second I've ever done. Like I've since joining O4A, I've played other games, but this would have been about my second one to start. So I was actually kind of confused that I got invited because I didn't really know how to roleplay all too much, but everybody around me kind of makes it a lot easier to get into that flow and to roleplay with everyone. As a matter of fact, when I first started playing D&D with friends and everything, I was a dungeon master, and we basically played D&D as a scenario that you had to beat, like a board game, right? As a matter of fact, that's what I would tell people, like, oh, don't worry about it. You don't have to. It's not weird like you think it is. We'll just play it. It's just like a board game. It's just a board game. And then here I am playing with everybody, and it's so much more than just that, right? No, Eris, I don't really have theater experience. Um,
That play in elementary school totally counts.
it was middle school, thank you.
Even more valid.
um, I played King Minos in Theseus and the Minotaur. But anyways, um, but one thing that I did take away as dungeon mastering for people was the big thing that I really enjoy that Camille does is taking those critical failures and giving them a reason as to why you failed to check. Kiri's big example is why Stacy still talks about it all the time was you try to loot that corpse, but the memories from the war kept you distracted, and that's just like a little piece of detail that just kind of turns this failure into this more substantial thing, and I've been incorporating that a lot more with people when I play with them. And I think you're muted, Mindy.
I know. I was just saying that was really good.
I think it's definitely changed how I play in that, and this is this sort of trend began when I started playing Invisible Sun a while ago. But I used to always like pick my characters and go through my character creation process, looking very much at the character mechanically. And I still love the numbers on my sheet. I still want to get those numbers just how I want them. Like I science and math is like my day to day. I need this to be optimal. So there's totally still that part of me, but especially going through the character creation process with Kiri and having like this mechanical idea, and then like, oh, I don't And then like getting halfway through that story, I'm like, wait a minute, the story I have is a paladin story. It is not a barbarian story, which is what I had originally planned Kiri to be. And normally, I think if it had been any other game but this one, I probably would have just changed the backstory to keep the mechanics. But because I was so like I've been watching Fate's Chosen for a while, so like I have a very high opinion of Camille and her dungeon mastering and the games that come out of that. And so because I was working with Camille specifically, I'm like, I'll just change the um, I'll just change the class and go with something I wasn't mechanically expecting, and let the story sort of take the front seat. And as far as DMing goes, I've learned to just like chill the hell out. Like I used to be so afraid of like silence and so afraid of like nothing happening. I felt like I was just so antsy. I had to keep doing something all the time and it was stressful and it was the worst. And like Camille will just like stop and sit there and like we'll start talking amongst each other and I realize like that's something I need to do. If I want to get my players to talk to each other, I need to let them. And so I've been starting to do that and it's been great.
That is something that gets brought up in our call outs for her a lot, that she is very good at reading the space and giving the space that's needed. So that awkward quiet, eventually you learn that it's not necessarily awkward, but it feels awkward in the beginning, even as a player. So, oh, so good, y'all. All right, so jump back to your character.
Thanks for all those gift subs, Paul. That's great.
Dang!
You rock. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Everybody throw in your coolest.
Oh, yes.
Emo.
Where is my Leona?
There it is. Boom.
I can't make more
Yay.
Leonas without the mouse moving.
Oh no. Ren, I saw that.
What happened? I
What are you
didn't see
talking
it.
about?
You're free. What? Whoa, y'all, I don't drink wine very often. Okay, so it's gonna be it's great. It's great. Okay, so I've only got a couple more questions left for you. In the grand scheme of things, now this is a question that was asked last time. But I'm going to re-ask it, and it's probably going to be a question that's asked every single time we meet for Fourth Watch. In the grand scheme of things, what are your overall character goals that you can share? Some of that is probably maybe too spoilery at this point, right now, at the stage in the game. And have they changed since our last Fourth Watch? So this will be, and if so, for those that weren't at last Fourth Watch, whether watching or actually answering this question, where did your goals start and where are they now? How have they changed? Are they the same? What if you had to pin it to one thing, what is the top priority right now for your character?
I can't remember what I answered for Kendall last time. But his goal is just to get Salix back to her tree in one piece.
Now, how far away is that goal completion in Kendall's mind?
Honestly, that's the anxiety-inducing part of playing Kendall. He doesn't know. He's afraid that it'll be soon, and he hopes that it's long, but then also knows that if it takes too long, that he'll feel too guilty about it. So that's a tough question. I don't think I can answer it. And that's it for Kendall.
It's okay. Remember, we just talked about this. This awkward silence isn't really awkward. People are just thinking, it's okay. Everything's great. Everything's fine. That's why I'm talking right now, so that it's not silent.
I think for Kiri, their original goal was basically wait it out. Wait for somebody powerful enough on the other side to get a message across that, okay, come on back now. Whereas now, especially after Kiri's conversation with that sprite and learning that the Sealy Court are flipping their shit because Ekbjorn got killed, and now they need to like now that's big problem that goes beyond previous conflicts, and so now Kiri's like primary goal would be like contact the Sealy Court and like get the ball rolling and like deal with this problem. And
But what does deal with this problem entail exactly?
So a few things. And I'll tell you, Kiri's angle on this is they're going to be coming at this like, you're afraid that you don't have, the magical power, the oomph necessary to deal with this. And I think you do. I just don't think you want to use it. I think Kiri's going to try and convince them to like let Mab out of the box. Let her out and let her out to help you and to deal with this problem. And we'll cross any bridges we need to cross later. But right now, we have a bigger problem on our hands than each other. And that's Kiri's angle on that one. And it's a lot more active than their first goal of waiting it out was. And so that's been a lot of fun, like starting to scheme and plot and plan. It's been a ton of fun.
Oh, that was such a sigh.
Sorry. I'm good at those. Dev's original goal was just to leave home. And obviously they did that the instant they left. Then it was travel with Kiri, see what's going on. And then it was find your dad. And then it was, I don't know. Honestly, earlier I said that Dev's not going to approach these new revelations with any particular change to like how they do things, but I think in the back of their mind they're going to be looking for answers as far as what this actually does mean for them. They might not actively be looking for it, but they may be trying to figure it out somehow. But I think realistically, they're still just going to be coasting along on their goal to write a book and be famous.
My heart. Salix, did you share yours?
Oh God, it's my turn.
Yeah, I was like, did I make that up? I didn't make that up. Right.
So Salix, she's a little bit of a liar. When she left home, she did have the motivation to stay with Kendall, but she actually had also had she had a dream one night of being on a boat over a stormy ocean, and she wants to know what it means. She's not quite sure what it means, but she wants to know, and she knows that there's something out there for her, and she's not exactly sure what it is, but
Stay tuned, y'all.
Find out.
Well then,
Pirate adventure.
Yeah.
Sounds. It's yep.
Can't wait to be a Corsair.
So it's really funny because one of the questions that I was looking up, like weird icebreaker questions. So now this question is suddenly relevant. If y'all were to have a ship, what would you name it? I didn't ask this because you still can't answer the next question I'm going to ask you, which is, what is your group name?
Bodie McBoatface to both.
Bodie McBoth. Okay. All right.
SS Friendship.
SS Friendship. Seems pretty legit for y'all.
Thank you, Alex.
The
That's
right-
perfect.
The right level of wholesome.
Frolicking Foresters. I don't know.
I threw it in earlier. Late's Chosen. I like that one.
That's a good one too.
Monday Friends, although we play on Sunday, that's pretty good.
That is
Tuesday friends.
Yes.
Wait, we are not. This is not. It is not a. It's not an improvement if you just change the day.
Is it though?
No. If we're gonna
No,
change the
the
day, we're just gonna keep it Sunday Friends. Sunday Friends is great. Sunday Friends is better than Tuesday Friends because you're not on Tuesday.
Hey, it's always Tuesday if you're in
It
this
is always
room.
Tuesday.
Right. At least we're not Monday friends.
Who
But
is
also
Monday?
back-
Okay.
Monday's the worst day.
Okay.
There's only
Backing
one
up
good
just
reason.
a bit.
There's only one good reason
One
for
good
Monday.
thing about Monday.
There's one good thing about Monday.
Backing up just a bit to the suggestion of Bodie McBoatface, I'm just gonna ask. I'm just going to ask, what did you expect when you put it to a Vody McVoteface?
Seriously though, I don't know, and if the chat knows, throw them in because we need ideas for reals. Except I like 3.5 elves.
I still like Dev's elven entourage.
Oh, wow. These
Oh,
are.
wait, no, I'm sorry. It was Dev's elven escort.
Oh, I kind of like. That's pretty
That
good.
sounds dirty though.
Does it?
What about Thistlebrook and the experience?
It's the title of the book he's right there. Well, that was not at
Something.
all helpful, but thank you. All right, so so this is the last question, and I'm really interested to hear the answers. And all these answers, as a teacher, I expect justifications to come with them. If you all had to fight each other, who do you think would win? And then on the other end, who's going down first?
Oh, Kendall's going down first. I mean, I can answer that part right away.
Why?
What do you mean?
'Cause
Why
he
has
the
history
least
He
amount of hit
always
points, and his
does.
sister knows how to hit him.
has history shown anything different? Who would win?
I think Kiri.
I think
They can
Dev.
heal themselves.
No,
Dev could hide pretty well, possibly.
Yes, Dev would wait it out.
Yeah, it depends on the rules of engagement. Because here's the thing: if it's tournament, I do think Kiri would win. Where it's a series of 1v1s, I think Kiri would come out on top of the ladder. But if it was a free for all, I think the ranged characters definitely take it. There's no reason to play.
That's probably fair.
There's no reason to play melee in 5e unless you want the aesthetic. Ranged is strictly better. So I'm gonna say Dev takes it.
if you're all in a clump, expect a few burst arrows coming your way.
Yeah, I say if it's a free for all, Dev takes it.
You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that.
Pepper Kendall with some arrows, explode everyone else around him. Yep.
Wow.
Yep, basically.
Wow.
Just has to wait for Kendall to just pass out, and then Dev can do some work. While the
Do the
melee
burst
character-
arrows pop if you shoot someone who's already down? It feels kind of cruel.
that hurts a little
It just
bit.
seems like a little.
The thing that you just said, that hurts.
Wow. No, that was way more concise than I was expecting it to be. I mean, good job. Congratulations. I feel like you have sufficiently justified why you believe Dev would be if it was like a brawl situation. If it's 1v1, we think maybe Kiri has the
Hey,
upper
hold
hand.
on, I think I'm missing something here. I think I did not consider how wild shape changes the dynamics of this fight. Because if
Oh.
Salix turns into what is the most powerful thing Salix can turn into, right? It's like a wolf or a bear, right?
Brown bear, I believe.
No,
Yeah,
no, that's all.
or-
That's all fine and dandy. But Salix has shown that she doesn't use animal wild shape to fight.
To fight. Here's a
But
question.
she can.
She can.
She can.
She
Can
can.
you-
Would she though?
She will if she feels like it'd be useful. However, the things that we've been trying to fight, it's not really useful to be in a B shape. She's better off with her hands and.
I think
So
in
sh-
this case,
uh,
though, for sheer durability, it might be worth it because you can wild
You
shape
get
like
the-
twice, can't you? So the
I can-
sheer
And then you
amount of
get the bonus-
HP,
Hit points, yeah.
yeah, the sheer amount of HP
Oh.
you can go through.
However,
think makes it
wild
worth
shape
it.
is an action,
Yeah, that's true.
and you
can't
can only do
your
it
monk stuff?
twice.
Can you monk
Yeah.
stuff when you turn into a bear? Like, can you kung fu bear?
Oh yeah, how does that work?
I think you
I
can
don't-
theoretically. But I'm not sure.
We haven't gone over that, and frankly, a bear's AC is like 12, and they only have maybe, I want to say, like 20 something hit points off the top of my head. I don't use a brown bear very
Right.
often. I normally go wolf or something, but just because I
Puma?
flavor better.
You like sniffing Kendall's escapades, apparently.
Oh wow. Yep.
We really went there. Okay.
Yep,
Wow. We were
totally.
so close to making it to the end, y'all. So close.
Oh, who let Juan
I
in here?
tried.
No one.
It was more like one let us in here.
Well, it's fine. Once I get 4th level spells, I'll be able to take polymorph, and then I can polymorph myself into a dragon and eat all of you.
But we've killed dragons.
Wow.
And we're gonna eat them.
You know, I thought this was super decisive and concise. but-
Well, there's one thing we're all in agreement on. It's that Kendall would be the first one to go down.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh.
I
sweet,
mean,
sweet, sweet,
yeah.
sweet Kendall. Oh. Wow.
Do you have a more wholesome question? Maybe you could end on.
What is your character's favorite color and why?
Oh,
Doesn't get much more wholesome than that.
Yellow, because it's a happy color.
Is that you or Salix?
Both.
Fair.
It's sunshine, and sunshine is good for plants and giving you vitamin D in your skin and
It's the color of cheese.
some cheese.
Also valid. Yep.
It's also the color of honey, and everybody knows that honey is liquid gold.
Gold
Get
is
it, and-
also gold. Yellow.
Yeah.
gold is also.
If you melt down gold, then it's liquid gold.
Yes, that is also true.
Otherwise,
doing
you
a
can
lot
just
of-
have
we're-
gold, and it's solid gold.
We're establishing a lot of truths right
Also-
now.
A lot of flowers are yellow, and flowers make people happy. So
Or they make them sneeze.
Also, yes. Which is also good. Dev likes green because green is vibrant and fun and the color of things that grow. And that feels about right.
I'd agree. Sounds good. Sounds very Devy. Dev-esque.
I would say that's sort of like purpley orange color the sky gets during like sunsets and twilight, because it is eternally twilight in some parts of the Feywild where Kiri is from, so it reminds him of home.
Oh.
Kendall's is probably pink because it reminds him.
Bacon.
No. I mean, that's a perk. Heck, okay, yeah, I'll go with that. It reminds him of the
Well,
flower
no,
that
but actually yes.
it reminds him of the flower he found for Salix.
Oh, that was much sweeter than bacon. I mean,
Yeah,
I
but
still
you
think
you got in there and kind of ruined it, but it's okay.
I did. It's fine. That's what I do.
Bacon-
I ruin things.
There's nothing wrong
We're a
with
moderator,
bacon. Though.
not an interrupter.
What?
What?
Did you call me
Knock,
an
knock.
interrupter? Who's? Mm-mm.
speaking of the flower that Kendall got for Salix, you should check out the Patreon because it has a whole IMRP between Kendall and Salix in which Kendall gives Salix a flower and then they go off and have an adventure, and it is fun and it's wholesome and it might make you cry if you're like Mindy.
Was that supposed to mean?
You
You
cry
cry
a
a lot.
I have a lot of feelings.
We thought that was
That's
pretty
okay.
clear.
It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it might make you cry if you're like Mindy.
I feel lots of stuff about things.
I do, and sometimes I feel them so strongly that my eyes leak. It's fine.
Well, your eyes can leak as much as you want.
I can't wait till I'm old enough to feel ways about stuff.
What?
All right. This is clearly escalated. So I will have one more question. This is no justification needed, multiple choice test. Only right answers are right, wrong answers are wrong. That's it. No half credit, no partial credit. Who wins in a pillow fight?
Curious
Casserole.
how high
Like-
strength.
Casper. She
Oh
comes in
yeah,
here.
if we're going cross
She,
campaigns,
she
yes,
comes in here and
Casper.
just demolishes everyone.
That's
No,
because
Yeah,
Kester wouldn't use a
Kester.
pillow.
Kester would put a brick in her.
she would
in her
put a brick
pillowcase.
in the pillow. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
She'd still win though, so Castro. That's it. That's the final answer.
Wow. That's out. Make sure we'll let Kate know that Castro won the pillow fight battle between Sunday friends. Why is she here?
I
Don't
was at
worry
first
about
I was
it.
gonna say Salix because she gets the she can use her key to get extra attacks, but
Hey.
Hey, you
That's
know what
real.
though?
Kester
Kendall,
would come in with the brick.
Kendall can use planar warrior and smack you all with force damage on that pillow.
Ow.
Wow. This.
I mean,
this
if we're
game got-
talking sheer mechanics, Dev gets 2 attacks per attack and an action surge, so just like unleash 4 pillow attacks in one round on some fools.
What if
Oh,
there are-
jeez, this is a lot
What
harder
if-
than you thought it was gonna
Time
be.
out.
If we're
What?
talking
What?
mechanics, I'm just gonna remind everyone Castro's like level 10.
Yeah.
11, actually.
11.
So-
Yeah.
Sorry.
So what I will also say is, what if there's like a limit to the pillows? It's not like you have an infinite number of pillows just laying around. That's ridiculous.
Well, it's not like
Everything-
you're smashing each other with a pillow till it breaks.
And it's not like when
that's
you're
fair.
fighting. It's not like when you're fighting
So-
whatever goblins or something with your sword. It's not like you have 4 swords. You've got 1 sword. You're just attacking 4 times. So you only have what, 1 pillow a person, or are you fighting over the pillow too? Because
No,
I feel
that's
like you
fair,
should
I
have
don't know.
at least 1 pillow per person.
I feel like you have one pillow a person at least. But
Okay.
then that changes well, I guess it doesn't really change anything except there's no melee shenanigans happening anymore. I mean, because if you throw your pillow, you throw your weapon. And then it's gone forever.
There's just no range. It's all melee.
This is insane.
Who needs range?
This was
Is a pillow
supposed
a
to
finesse
be...
weapon?
I feel like a pillow is definite. Yeah,
It's two-handed.
Oh, does it have to be? It depends on the size of the pillow.
Can I have 2 pillows and then just one hand each?
Dual pillow.
Yeah,
Dual pillow?
like like
I got
couch,
2 weapon
like,
fighting, easy.
like the decorative
Two
pillows.
pillow fighting.
Those are one-handed pillows, but like the stereotypical sleeping pillow, that's two-handed.
Yeah.
And you have to have proficiency if you want to use a king-size pillow.
Yeah.
That's a 2-handed pillow.
Well,
But
like
I
a
feel
body
like
pillow?
a regular. Oh, I guess a regular sleeping pillow could be what's that called?
And don't
Versatile.
forget about throw pillows getting the
When you
range into
can-
here.
It's,
But then you throw it and it's gone and you lose your weapon. Like there's no, unless like a boomerang pillow, which
Yeah,
those are.
except that Camille doesn't worry about ammunition, so we don't have to keep
Also,
track of
let's
it.
I don't
be
think that
honest.
counts in this case though.
There's a reason no one ever uses boomerangs. It's because you throw it and it hits someone and then it stops because it hits somebody.
Yeah, what's the point of having a
And then they can pick it up and hit you back.
Throw
That's
it
when
back.
it comes
And
back.
technically it came back, yeah. So-
The chat is voting. We'll let the chat decide.
oh, Dev is...
It's
Dev is-
definitely gonna be Dev.
Dev.
It's the size. Just go
Yeah.
for the kneecaps.
Yeah.
Knock everybody prone.
Oops,
Steal the
trip.
pillows. Oh my gosh.
They
All right,
also get
well-
so many attacks if they action surge.
Plus that,
That's
half,
also true.
that halfling luck, right?
Yeah.
God, I
Oh,
fucking need it.
Definitely, they're very lucky.
that's real. Oh, okay. Poor Kendall. Poor Kendall just cannot catch a break. Dev is the champion.
Dev is the champion.
So it is written, so it is
Also,
done.
we have to consider the fact that Dev is the only one who actually uses a pillow, really. So they're
There's
the
a
most
proficiency.
proficient with
Proficient.
that.
yeah.
It's a,
Yep.
it's a big bonus.
Although,
depending on what level
think
you
about
are.
this, Ren. You give Dev a pillow and they automatically go to bed because that's what they think it's for.
That's true.
That's also true.
It could also lull you into a false sense of security, and then BAM!
There's a lot
pillow.
of factors that need to be considered, and I almost feel like
Why is this
Somebody
the
should-
Why is this the question we thought about the most?
Because no one
because Mindy
actually
told
gets
us not to
hurt.
think about it.
I did tell you.
So
You
not-
should
don't
have
think
known.
about it.
No justification, multiple choice. Here we go.
That's it. New name, Rebel Squad. We're the rebels.
Oh my gosh.
Rebels without a
So-
cause. There we go.
Can we just be pillow friends?
All right, Camille, you heard
I
it
might
here.
give people.
The new it's the new. Okay, yep, we're pillow friends. Sunday
No.
pillow friends.
No.
But that
What did
doesn't
you
change.
say?
That makes it worse.
I think it makes it better.
Pillow pals.
We could just be pillow pals. That's good.
No.
Pillow talk. we talk a lot.
P squared.
The first half of the session's always talking, anyways. Pillow talk.
Can that be what in Fourth Watch, aka pillow talk?
Pillow talk.
Okay,
Nope.
well, we are going to wrap it up there after that very illuminating final question. So let's go ahead and sign off.